Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Osetinsky.
And I'm not a doctor, Jeff McKinnon. And this is
Speech
Kids!
Speech Kids! Speech Kids! Speech Kids! Speech Kids! Speech Kids! Speech Kids! Speech Kids!
God, I love that intro music.
I know, right? It's just
Solid opening.
beautiful and wonderful. You did such a good job on that, Jeff.
For the keen ear, you'll know that it's a track off the new Killers album, which I must say, brought me right back into the fold with the Killers. I'd given up on them. I think that Brandon Flowers is a charismatic rock robot, but boy, can they make a hit.
Well, and what a great time for a new Killers album. That's what I keep thinking. Every album I hear that's dropping, I go, what a great time for that album.
Boy, and this Mormon fellow loves his wife. So if you're needing something where like earnest love for your partner and your family, it just in a nice poppy package, baby, the Killers Exploding the Mirage is for you.
Well, I think earnest love in a poppy package is kind of a great segue into our show today. We're just going to get at it because we have an earnestly lovable reunion in a poppy packge.
That is a hell of a show.
It happened for you today. Yes, a hell of a show. So we have...
This is the most nervous I've ever been, Amy.
we are having a Cherry Creek High School speech reunion circa the year 2000 today, as we have a couple of humor champions who did speech, really with me mostly, but these are also dear friends of Jeff's, and then also one of our coaches from back in the day who will be joining us today. So I think without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and invite Sean Donahoe and Jeremy Make to come on and join us.
Welcome, gentlemen.
So Sean and Jeremy, how are you doing today? Welcome to Speech Kids.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
You're the best.
This is the most excited I've ever been.
Jeremy, I have to start by just bringing up something that only occurred to me right before we started recording. I was briefly working for a firm, not to be named, but you, sir, were the star of the sexual harassment videos that I had to watch for about 3 straight hours.
I'm proud of that. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm proud of it.
Something from back in the vault of Jeremy's actor days. Fantastic.
That wasn't that long ago, but yeah, I haven't been doing as much acting as I used to, sadly. I'm sad about it.
Well, you know, kids. Happens.
King of them Colorado commercials.
Child that we just remembered is actually 2.5, and we're all like, how did that happen? So, great.
And Sean has a 19-year-old, so.
A 7-year-old.
Feels like it. Jeez.
So maybe we'll jump in first with our sort of standard stock questions that we ask our guests. And maybe, Sean, we'll start with you. The question is sort of tell us a little bit about what you do now, like what your job is, what you do, and then how you think that your time, tell us a little bit about what you did in speech, like what your event was, and then how to doing speech, how do you use those skills today? That's sort of the question. So you can start off telling us a little bit about what you do. Go for it.
Yeah, so today I've been in sales for the last, 12, 13 years now. Today I run as a senior account executive. So I basically sell the collaboration platform that we're utilizing today that I couldn't log into just because of my awesome network at home.
That's a great pitch, Sean.
And it's pretty good, isn't it?
So Sean was
actually not as I know how to do
today because he could not get his technology to work on his end. So that is
just
priceless.
I just sell the dream, Amy. That's what the engineers to figure out.
I feel like you and I did the same thing for a while. Weren't we both with?
Yeah, I was with for quite some time.
We know the ins and outs of cold calling, baby.
Yeah. Thank God it's not as brutal as it was in the past, but yeah, no, I've been doing that for quite some time now. As far as kind of what I did in speech, let's see here, it's been 20 years. So humor, I was in the humor portion of forensics, speech and debate captain, I think, senior year.
Yeah, I think you were.
Yeah. Yeah. And then utilize basically everything that I got and gained from speech was kind of, segue into running in sales and, allowing myself to get in front of people and obviously pose an argument and have it come out on the winning side.
Well, what's funny is like in sales, like there's so much, like you have to like absorb a script and then naturalize it. Like you can't sound like you're just regurgitating talking points. You have to feel like, this is just me connecting with your needs, my friend. And let me just give you a few points of why that is. And like, that's gotta be like, you're charming and funny and like, you can absorb a lot of information. It's gotta be a big part of how you've succeeded so far and becoming, what was it? A senior? Good Lord, it was a senior something.
Senior account executive. It could be janitor. Really, for all that matters at this point, as long as it pays the bills, I could care less.
I was gonna say, Sean, I'm just shocked they let you in the building, let alone put
no doubt
in front of your title.
Man. I'm still shocked. I think the whole selling portion took for me to fake this entire career that I've taken so far.
So essentially, speech is totally like responsible for all of your success because it taught you how to fake things.
Yeah, it helped me become a credible liar, pretty much.
He's actually an assassin, everyone. It's all a sales gig, just a cover.
It's all play. It's been good. I mean, it's the biggest thing that debate took on is being able to get out of your own way, be able to, fundamentally take criticism and be able to be thrown into the wolves and basically steer your way out of it.
That's great. Well, I think on that, what a wonderful just like sound bite there. And on that note, I think we'll pass it over to you, Jeremy. So how about you? Tell us a little about what you do and what you did in speech and then how the two are connected.
So I was an actor for a decent amount of time after high school, after speech, almost entirely because of speech. But in the last 5-6 years, I went back to school and kind of switched careers pretty dramatically to do public health consulting, research, management. Worked for a great organization, a international organization that serves underserved populations around the world. And it's great. And I think speech, I don't know where I would be without speech. Like, I'm not sure I'd be alive without speech. I think it has shaped everything. I think it shaped me personally. I think it shaped me professionally. And yeah, I'm very, it helped shape the beard mostly. Yeah. I'm a part-time barber as well. So.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Can I say though, I am so fascinated by what brought you to your TED Talk. And I found the content of your TED Talk like endlessly fascinating and also very true and reasonable. And I can't imagine. So what brought you there? And also what was the feedback? Like what
we should probably first start with tell us a little bit about your TED Talk, then tell us about what brought you there and what kind of feedback you got from it.
Yes.
I think, Mac, I think you're talking about the second TED Talk, but you should know that the first
TED Talk. Okay.
The first TED Talk, though, was with our dear friend Andy Rainey.
Oh, I did not see that.
And it was immediately after we had gotten back from a 110-day adventure around the country on a golf cart.
It's called Cart Across
we did
America.
that.
Isn't there a movie you can watch or something?
It's a doc.
Yeah.
A documentary.
Yeah, there's a movie on YouTube somewhere. Yeah.
Dude, every time this is the thing, when you guys did Cart Across America, like I was insanely jealous. And then also seeing the trailer is like, oh my God, there are portions of that must have sucked so hard. I'm like, I don't know if I would have done it at all.
It's 80 minutes of awful. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Like not even my parents.
How many good days did you have? Of 100.
That's a much better question than how many not good days, because there were fewer of them. I mean, Andy and I are still like very dear friends, and somehow miraculously. But yeah, I mean, that trip was like. I also think like that trip and the movie itself almost entirely stemmed from speech in some weird way. but the one that you're talking about, Jeff, I think was more recent and is about death and dying. And it was, it came from my work in grad school, and like I was just interested in how communication works in end of life stuff. So yeah, I present this model for like, we don't talk about the other ways that people die, but we need to, because we really like disenfranchise people and take a lot of rights away from people in their like last moments. And it's pretty awful, particularly for marginalized populations that don't have the same access. So yeah, hopefully it's really depressing, and that's the point.
I mean, everybody's so afraid of death, and we all gotta just, accept it's gonna happen. Die inside, I think they call it die before you die. I almost got that tattooed on my forearm, which is the idea. Just shed this ego, shed this purpose that, is entirely manufactured by your very capable brain, and just accept that, like, we're just here. We're just here, man. Just chill out, bros. Like,
Thank you for that, like, pot-induced.
Thank you.
Just.
I'm on mushrooms, everybody. Did I not say that?
Yeah. So, Jeremy, what were your events? What were your speech events when you were in high school?
So I was just following whatever the heck Sean did, because he was my idol. So I did humor, but I also like dabbled in, because there was one specific speech meet that was called Hell of the West. And you had to do all three. You had to do drama, poetry, and humor. And you had to have three different pieces. So at any given time, they were like, okay, like, Jeremy, you're in this round and you're doing drama. And you're like, what piece did I make for drama? I don't remember. So I dabbled in that, but I tried to do mostly humor and duo.
Yeah. So now the fun part, I'm going to just open it up to the two of you to so we usually at the top of the show do a segment called Speech Memories, or called Memories, where we, sing a little Barbara Streisand and then share our memories of speech. We didn't do it today because we knew you were coming on. So my question is, what memories do you all have of speech when we were all doing it together? Or, when Jeff was doing Lighter Side with Us, which was a comedy show that Sean created that we were all a part of. Just memories of us in this time, maybe speech related or maybe not. All I ask is don't get me fired.
Will this get you fired? I'm not sure.
God! Oh my God! So you need to explain this. You need to explain what's
that?
going on here in this photo. So it's a photo. It's me wearing bad sweatpants and a bucket hat with a.
You're dressed like Fred Durst.
It's a it's a goose. It's one of those concrete geese that someone would put on their porch. So Jeremy, do you want to explain what's going on?
You took it to a parking lot?
We're in a parking lot.
Is that Sean? And does he have a cigar in his mouth?
Yes.
Where's Sean? Do you have a cigar in?
Shit.
He doesn't shockingly have a cigar in his mouth, although he probably should, or probably did right before. That's Amy. That's our friend Lance. And this is a duck that someone stole off of someone's front porch. Probably Amy.
Do you remember what happened that night, Jeremy? Because I'll fill it in. I remember this night vividly, actually.
I don't. Go ahead, please.
So your neighbor, one of the neighbors at the townhome where you lived with your parents, in that neighborhood, Jeremy lived in a fancy townhome neighborhood when we were in high school, and one of his neighbors had this duck that would sit on the porch that the neighbors would just dress up in different outfits every week or month or something. And we were all like, this is the stupidest thing ever. So one night we stole it. This was when the gnome, the Travelocity gnome thing was happening, and like they were taking pictures of the gnome in like different places. I don't even know if it was Travelocity. Maybe they stole that for that. Anyway, like gnome photos were a thing where you would steal someone's garden gnome. It's like the original like social media challenge before social media. And so we stole the duck and we took it to different places and took Polaroid photos of it and then returned the duck to the neighbor's house. But one of the photos that we took, there was a police officer hanging out somewhere, and we like convinced the police officer to take a photo with the duck, but we just couldn't show his like badge or his car. He was like very worried that he was going to get in so much trouble for letting us take the photo with this stolen duck. But yeah, so that was like, oh my God, and I'm thinking of this, I'm like, this is the whitest teenage experience you could ever have, sitting here going like, we actually went up to the cop, we're like, we stole this and we're taking photos, will you take one with us? And he's just like, sure, white teenagers, I'm happy to do that for you. Anyway, but yeah, that was that evening. And so we took all these photos with the duck and then returned it to your neighbor with the photos.
I just want to be very clear here that it sounds like I showed this photo before we started recording, and Amy was like, oh yeah, now I'll tell the story. Amy, this is the first time you've seen this photo in 20 years.
I guess I just have this really good memory of all the stupid shit we did when we were teenagers.
When we proposed the idea of doing speech memories as a segment, I was like, I'm sure I'll be able to remember things. Amy comes to the table with stories that are well thought out and vivid. And I'm like, I think I vaguely remember like sweating too much one time and it looked like I peed myself. I don't know. Maybe it could have happened at a tournament. That sounds like me. Like, I can't remember this stuff. It's unreal.
I don't know if anyone has a VHS player. I have speech nights. But I don't have I don't even have a TV, let alone a VHS player.
I don't remember speech night.
Remember speech nights? They were like, so Sean was the captain for one. I wasn't good enough to be captain, but they like made him an MC. And then my ex-girlfriend from high school, Joanna Bricky, was the MC with Sean one night. So these were like our nights of like performing the stuff that we had done, but for parents, not like for competition.
Okay.
In the library.
I'm assuming, Sean, they made you script these MC things, because if they just let you go.
I'm watching my vernacular right now, so you guys can keep your show.
It's the internet, baby. Anything goes.
We can bleep you out.
I don't know about that, man. I've been muzzled a few times.
Bro. That's our distributor, so a lot of views, a lot of clicks. You can just take your shirt off, Sean.
We're gonna have to go ahead and let the show go. one of your guests that you had on made a few derogatory comments.
Bring it.
I can't. I thought I had a photographic memory. I think it's been years of drinking heavily that have dissolved whatever brain cells that I could absorb any type of memory from. But the only thing I remember that was just a pain in the ass was getting thrown out of a hotel 2 a.m. due to a fire drill that some clown pulled in Chicago. I remember
that clown was Patrick Cleary, by the way.
Was it really Cleary?
I'm pretty sure.
Was this a speech trip?
Outed.
Yeah, no, it was out in Chicago. We were out in what was it? The hell was that county? That doesn't matter. I just remember the hotel, and I remember Reed freaking out because he had to walk 4 flights of stairs or whatever, and he was all pissed off. And he's like, Reed, we all had to walk. It's 2 a.m.
And
good
then
times, man. Fantastic memory.
Yeah, Cleary made the fire alarm go off. No, but that's good, because like I think this idea of like traveling out of state for tournaments is something that doesn't happen anywhere. Like I think one of the things that I've been realizing as Jeff and I have been talking about this is that our experience just in general in high school is so full of like privilege and money and like is not at all what other people experienced. And so I think maybe just to explain a little bit about like how travel worked. What do you all remember like of the trips you took with speech and where you went and sort of how that worked?
Yeah, I was always the homeless person. Everybody actually had to fund my ass. Like, I all I remember is going to Gary constantly and being like, "Yeah, I really want to go on this trip, but my mom says that it was either this or the mortgage this month. So, good luck to you." And then all of a sudden, everybody would rally around, and we got to go get him. We got to get him on the trip. And then I go to the trip, and it was fantastic. But always felt like that guy that was on the some type of coupon or some shit, you know, that I want to deal off of a fax deal or something, you know, one of those fax cruise line gimmies, you know.
But, for those of you who are young, a fax machine is a machine where they transmit paper over a phone line, and they used to send you over your fax machine like just like spam email. It was spam faxes that would be like, "You can win a cruise."
So Sean, we both were on the wrong side of Dry Creek Boulevard or whatever.
Oh yeah.
apparently, because my only reason I got to go on the Harvard trip was because my mom agreed to be a chaperone and then somehow got some like discount on my whole trip. So,
No,
otherwise,
it was felt like I was Matt Damon in Rounders or some shit growing up that my
you were Matt
father
Damon
was the
and
janitor.
Yeah,
just without the math skills.
Sean, I mean, Jeremy admitted it, and then I had to say I followed you into speech. You plucked me out of student senate. I never would have even known it was a thing. And you took me under your wing, and then you brought me into this thing that we mentioned earlier. That I have a gift for everyone, which my mother keeps everything. So don't think I haven't grown past high school. But about 6 months ago, she asked me to come get a bin of my stuff that I didn't even want anymore. And she's like, come get it out of the garage. And in there was this.
Jeez. I haven't seen that in 20 years.
Yes.
I have it.
Two earrings.
My
Two
ears.
Not one earring, two.
What's that?
Two
Two
earrings.
earrings. If I could have had my druthers, I would have had a piercing here. And at one point I did bleach blonde my hair because I was a big fan of Cisco.
Dong, 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 dong.
But,
So
I mean,
that's from senior year because I made those things. I remember this. I was like, I'm a graphic designer and I can do that with computers that were, the size of this and like very primitive in the year 2000.
No, we're done.
I have you to blame for the fact that mine is out of focus. I never wanted to bring that up for like 20 years, but I'm like, no crisp photos of me?
And my father printed them on the plotter in his office. Like I went in on a weekend and commandeered the plotter at my dad's office. He was an architectural consultant. And and laminated them. And those were up all over the hallways. It's a giant, for those of you who can't see anything, it's a giant poster of Jeff's baby face from high school that says the lighter side of Creek with his name Mac, because we each had a nickname. And free with ID only, because it was free, but you had to be a student.
Better show you go to this school.
You better show you go to this school to come to our
coming out of
comedy show.
nowhere. Like, is there a high school sketch show in a theater? I'm getting in this bitch.
I'm going to bring my booze and crash the high school. I
gotta be honest. If I knew of a high school sketch show, I would be high and drunk in the front row right now. That would be incredible. Let's do it.
What? Wasn't it was Alietti, right? Wasn't that the dude
Yes.
that was trying to force the hand for us to charge so he could pay for the senior gift?
Yeah.
And because we we took so many it was the music videos and all the songs and all that. We had no right to any of them. We didn't, but who the hell was watching it? It was just more or less, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even,
because we couldn't charge because it was totally illegal.
We couldn't charge. Yeah, you kept freaking out. He's like, I really think we should charge for this. Like, first off, no one's paying, dude. Like,
that's exploitation.
Everybody would turn around and leave.
He wanted to exploit the hard work that we did in making mostly inappropriate music videos and sketches our senior year.
God. Can you imagine how much shit that'd bring up now? Like, some of the stuff that we filmed on that.
Yes.
I feel like people had a sense of humor back then. I feel like now you can't say anything without people freaking out. And
I can't remember much more than like seeing most of you dressed in drag with fishnets. I'm pretty sure I saw everything of Jeremy. Maybe a Spice Girls sketch, but I can't remember like the premises. Yeah. Does anybody remember like specific sketch premises, especially Sean, the ones that would never fly today? I'd love to hear those ones.
No, dude.
I think one of the ones, actually, Sean, you say that, but one of the ones that was really smart and really good was that we were poking fun at our high school and how privileged our high school was. There were all of those, I can't remember exactly what it was, but like being like definitions of things, like the poor kid was the one who had the Jaguar that was 5 years old and only lived in a 2-story house. And like, there was some actual like great social commentary happening within some of the things we did. And then there were other things that are just totally like not okay anymore. But like some of it, there was some stuff in there that was pretty smart and maybe ahead of its time. So, I remember the MasterCard commercials because those like, we were making fun of those because those were a big thing. Like the priceless MasterCard commercials.
Jeremy, did you send in some of those to become the face of First Bank? They were like, boom, this kid's got it. How many of those sponsors you do? I felt like I saw you in every commercial in Denver related to a financial institution.
Well, mostly with Eddie Royal in a Taco Bell commercial, but yeah, there was some Belco Credit Union too. I don't know
Jeremy
if I'm allowed
was also
to say their name.
Lotto ball. You were the Powerball, weren't you?
I was a Powerball. I was a fish. I've done a lot of them. Yeah.
Well, I think
Thanks,
on that
Speech.
note.
Thanks, Gary.
Wait,
yeah, we should.
Jeremy, do you remember any sketches?
We should bring our next guest on, and I am gonna.
Wait, Amy, can we get his
get
sketch?
Gary in here to join us.
Okay.
Hey.
There we go. And let's unmuted, Gary. You are on mute, so you're gonna want to hit that unmute button. There.
I got it. Yeah.
He's here.
Hey, man, I'm getting into the tech scene now.
I love it, man.
Turn on this.
I could green screen key out your hat. That's amazing.
Hey, how's everybody doing? It's been fun hearing you guys. I don't remember any of this. All I remember about San Francisco is that all the coaches were walking wherever we were walking the day we had a free day, and we look by, and there's, I think, all of you guys in a big limo that you'd rented and waving to us as you drove by. Yeah, talk about privilege. There it was, right in a nutshell.
That was not our.
I was definitely not in a limo, dude.
No.
Oh, yeah, they paid
I
your
was
way.
the guy.
Come on, man.
I was the guy shaking down the guy for change to get back on the bus to get back to the hotel.
We did. We took the bus to get there, if I'm remembering.
Okay, well, we did go to a privileged high school, so
we were the quote unquote poor kids at our high school.
Yeah, you
couldn't afford the limo.
Yeah.
Gary, I feel like was that kind of like, was that hard for you to like deal with like some of these spoiled ass rich kids at our high school?
It's a really good question to start off with. No, mainly the deal with the parents was the worst.
Yeah.
Not the kids. I mean, I couldn't have asked for better students, better kids, and laugh every day, especially with these two. I have to say, my job was not a job. I just sat back and watched these guys, and we laughed together, and that was so much fun. But then when it got to the technical stuff and parents and, my kids not getting to compete enough, or what are you doing here? Then I didn't like that part of it. But as far as, I don't think I had one bad day, in the 30 years plus that I actually taught about 45 years, but at Cherry Creek, probably about 22 or 23 years, not a bad day.
Gary, why don't you tell us a little bit about sort of how you came, like what your history is, how you came to be teaching at Creek, and then after you retired, what you've done since, just telling us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, well, I was in high school, I did speech, and I was state champion in humor, and I liked it, and I was successful at it, so, you want to continue to do that. Was in some plays, and then at CU, I was on the debate team. And it's kind of a funny story because I'd never debated before. And my partner and I got in at the middle of the semester. And the debate coach says, oh, yeah, you're going to go to this debate tournament. And so we went. We had maybe 7 index cards. That was it. And we go to our first round. And here comes Air Force Academy with like suitcases full of stuff. And all we did was read the 7 cards back. I would read the 7 cards and my partner. I'd give them to him. He'd read the 7 cards, and we're going, get us freaking out of here. So, I improved a little bit in debate. We weren't ever great, but and then I started a program. When I graduated, I got a job. I student taught at kind of a low middle income school. Got a job there and started a program. And we became good. I was with kids that didn't have talk about poor kids. I was with really poor kids. And my 2 most successful kids there got full rides to West Virginia in debate. One of them became president of the student body, and he's very famous now in New York City. And, I had 7 years and there. And the Cherry Creek coach and I hated a particular school and a particular coach. And we became very good friends because we hated this person so much. And when she left, she recommended me for the job. And I remember going in, you guys, you don't know this story. I remember going in and interviewing, and I had a yellow three-piece suit on. And the first thing the principal says, "Don't ever wear that again." Yeah. So, I got the job at Cherry Creek, and kind of had to start from scratch. And we became immediately successful. And it was just because, I was good at choosing kids, finding the right event for them and moving them that way. I was more of a facilitator than anything else, but immediate success. And then it just kept on happening. And then a lot of times there were kids that had been on the speech teams who had little brothers and sisters, and they couldn't wait to get on the team. And then I had summer camps, and we promoted kids to do that. And then, a lot of these kids, like these two, came in and probably were in my beginning debate class. And I said, debate's not really your gig, I think it's humor. And that's exactly what happened. And then they became humor stars in their own right. And, but I did want to say that Sean said something that was really important, and I'll go back to what I've been doing, which I wanted to say to anybody that's listening, and that is what was so good about every single one of the students that I ever had is they were willing to put judgment on the line. They were willing to go in there and have people say, "You suck." And they were willing to do with me, because I was very honest. I would say, "Okay, that sucks." And then we'd try to do something else. And I think these guys might say that when I said, "Yes, that's good," they knew that I meant it. Mm-hmm. But they would go out and they would compete, and they would get maybe a fourth sometimes, not very often. And they were willing to be judged. And not only the Cherry Creek kids, but any kid in speech is willing to be judged. And, being one of the most, one of the hardest things to do is to get up in front of people. These students never had a problem, or I wouldn't let them have that problem. That also was a thing. Sometimes I'd force them to do it, not knowing that it was scary for them. And then they evolved into being able to do it. I remember these two, we would go over and over and over things. And I loved working one-on-one. It was just great. And these two, we worked a lot together and became great friends. I have to tell you that I have students, my oldest student is 68, that's still alive. And I still have literally hundreds of ex-students that I'm in contact with. And that's been one of the greatest things in my career. Once I retired from Cherry Creek, I decided I wanted to go from one of the best places to teach. I couldn't think of a better place to teach than where I taught and the students that I taught. I went and tried to find the worst place, the absolute worst place I could teach, so I could write a book. And I ended up 5 years teaching murderers in the Albuquerque penitentiary, sometimes one-on-one with these killers for 5 years. That was not as rewarding, but it certainly was an experience. And then I taught in some low middle income schools after that. I just couldn't get teaching out of my system. The last place I taught was a private school in Santa Fe, and the speech coach was an ex-student that went to Creek way before these guys did. So there's probably 7 or 8 speech coaches out there that I coached, and we still collaborate some. So, I'm retired. I've been living in Peru and traveling around the country, traveling around the world, and now we're actually on the road right now as we speak. So it's been a great career. I miss it. I miss it a lot, and especially when I see these guys, which was so much fun. And these two, and Andy, and a number of other ones I've had dinner with in the past, and we've reminisced. So this is my first time seeing these guys. And Jeremy and I went to a couple of his plays, and was so proud. I'm still proud of what they've done, and I couldn't be happier I know that I contributed to some of the success of some of these guys, even though I was really a facilitator more than anything else. Not necessarily with humor and drama, those are my areas, but I facilitated brilliance. And that was what was great about my job. I was a facilitator of brilliance. Done.
I mean,
Next question.
Yeah, no, what you said. I love so much of what you said. I was trying to track all the 8,000 other follow-up questions I had for you, but like one, just to like reflect back to you, we didn't have a lot of experience together. I went through your beginning debate class, and I went into that class scared shitless of you, and and then I met you, and I was like, oh, this guy's just really bluntly honest, and then I was still scared shitless of you, but that like the nerves that you created and the like expectations and straight shooting that you provided was more productive for me than somebody being soft and letting me kind of get by, which I feel like leads into kind of what has progressively happened here, where like, you know, I like, how do you feel about the ability for like teachers and people and you know, authority figures to be more like direct and honest? Like, do you?
Well, I have to tell you, with all the fun stuff you guys have been talking about, you're talking some serious questions. And one of the things that I came natural to me is that I respected what kids said to me, whether they were a freshman or a senior. I was one of the first teachers that said, well, what do you think? And meant it. I wanted to know what they thought, how you look at it, you know, and a lot of kids were stunned with this. They didn't know how to deal with it because no one had said, well, what do you think? Parents had not done it. A history teacher doesn't do it, you know, and a lot of kids were like, they didn't know what to say, but eventually, you know, they realized that I really meant it. You know, I learned as much from the students at a young age than I was giving. I took as much as I gave, you know, so. And I don't know about teachers today. I think it's a hard road today. I wouldn't want to be doing it today. Can you imagine being in a STEM round and trying to talk about something controversial and having a judge disagree with you and give you the 5 because you know, last in the round because they disagree with you? That's got to be going on. You know, the thing about humor and drama and duel and everything, and you guys will probably attest to this, if you're good, you're good. If you're good, you're good.
Yeah,
you're gonna, you know, you're going to have some success. You could be really good in debate and lose every round, and especially if you're from Cherry Creek, because a lot of the judges were ex-students who had lost to Cherry Creek for years.
Yeah.
You know, and so they had a chip on their shoulder. They didn't want us to win. We were like the Oklahoma of the old days or Alabama in football. You know, they wanted to see you lose, you know, and they knew we were privileged, and they just, you know, they wanted to break that cycle of winning a lot of times. And we had an uphill battle because of that, unless you were really, really, really good. And that's what I was looking for, is to get really, really, really good. Another thing is, these guys were warriors. They went into rounds saying, I'm going to do it. It's like playing football at your highest level and giving 100%. I saw kids from other schools, you know, I got to get away from my parents on a Saturday. And, you know, I don't care whether I win or I lose. The guys on our team wanted to win.
Well, I think, Gary, Jeff and I were talking a little while ago about this, that we had to compete for our spots at tournaments too. Like, you all made us every week. Like, there were only so many spots because the team was so big. So like, we just had to be on our own game to even be able to get a spot at a tournament. So I think that also lent to that being ready, because there was a competition within the team. And
yes, but Amy, also I have to say that I made sure that everybody got a chance to compete.
Oh, sure.
You know, what I wanted to do is make everybody as good as the best guy. I spent more time with kids that were minimal sometimes than I did. You know, there was a couple of exceptional guys. Well, Clary was one, even though I loved working with him every day, was one. I never had to do anything with him.
Sure.
He was, you know, I needed to go with guys who were just barely making it so they could be not embarrassed at a tournament or maybe get into a final, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know.
So Sean and Jeremy, hearing Gary talk about this and talking about working with you, what recollections do the two of you have of working with Gary?
Now you got to remember my wife's right here. So,
I mean, we cannot overstate the fact. I think of it as like the Gunther Tooties theory. Remember, like servers at Gunther Tooties would just tear you apart, and you loved them for it, and you would give them a much better tip for it. That was Gary. He would just destroy people. I remember once I came in, it was preparing for state, and I came in with a new piece, and it was a drama piece, and it was called Wings, and it's about a person who has a stroke, and it's from their perspective. So their speech patterns are totally off. It's hard to understand them. And I do this long piece. It's a 10-minute piece. I'm like expecting him to just be weeping. And at the end of it, he just goes, "You pronounced trifle wrong." I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? It was the like fourth word of the piece that he was like stuck on. He's like, you pronounced trifle wrong. Also, the piece was shit. And that actually helped. Like, I remember Liz Kiernan at your retirement, Gary, gave this speech that was so memorable about how awful you were to her and how much she loved you for it. That honesty was like so brutal and so vital. That's what I remember.
Well,
I get in trouble with that with my wife now.
I think
I'm
too,
a little brutal
that style of just like brutal honesty. Like I think back, I did theater through high school. I, ended up with a degree in acting in undergrad, but like the most I learned about acting was from doing speech. And I think part of it is because of how brutal you were with us. Like, you didn't let me get away with using any of my tricks. I had a bag of tricks that I would toss out for anything, and you would just call me on my shit and be like, "That's bullshit, Amy. Do that again." And in a way that I would just skate by with other people of like, "Yeah, I'm good. I got my stuff." And it's like, no, you didn't let me get away with it, which made me a much better performer because I actually had to do the work.
That's
How
good
about
to hear.
you?
I never heard that. I've never, with all the students I talk to, I've never quite heard it that way. Usually they're ex-students are going, "Yeah, I remember when you said bullshit in class," or, I go, "Is that what you remember?"
The more you know.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I'd ever joined if you would have had that yellow suit on, Gary. Something about Curious George would have just not. It wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have rolled in on that one.
I'll tell you, I could have dreams about Sean. Easily have dreams because he did such an interesting piece.
Where's that muzzle we were talking about?
Sean was trying to do this piece that he was what was it called? The Actor's Nightmare. The Actor's
God,
Nightmare.
I hated that piece.
20 years ago, I still remember, buddy. And and it was like walking onto a stage from outside, a businessman or something, and then being thrown on the stage, having to improvise part of a play. And it was not an easy piece to do. It just wasn't. You had to be insecure, you had to hesitate, you had to do all these kinds of things. And we went over it and over it and over it and over it. And he goes, "I can't do this." I said, "Yeah, you can. Just do it." And finally, of course he did,
Metaphor for my life.
Yeah. But,
Mr. Senior,
I'll tell you what.
fancy title.
Hey, you know what? You just climb the ranks in sales. No, my whole life's been you thrown into a mix, and it's like, hey, I don't think you know what you're doing. Figure it out. Good luck to you.
Isn't that the reality about everything and everybody?
I think that's pretty much life in general.
And Sean, you've just been prepared for it, so that's why you're doing so well, because that's been your whole life.
No
so
doubt,
you're just like,
right?
okay, I can do this again.
more shit to hit the fan. Let's go. But no, yeah, I mean, I think it was awesome. I mean, yeah, Gary's blunt honesty. I mean, that was a huge point to me, because it's one of those deals where, and I'll go back to what Jeremy said, like, the people that would, sugarcoat it and build you up, and I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but that's not life in general. I mean, there's no second place ribbons, you know what I mean? And it was just one of those deals where it definitely helped kind of shaped the path to success. And I mean, yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals where, you know, we did fight for it. We did want it. I mean, yeah, I'd run into the kids that were at other schools that, you know, mom would send them in sweatpants and, you know, a frickin' pull off tie. And you were sitting there going, dude, why the hell did you even show up? You know, like, you're going to spend all Saturday, bro. You might as well just try to at least do something with it, you know?
Should I not have worn clip-on ties?
Never.
My dad taught me late. I had just learned shoelaces.
So, Gary, before we move on to our next segment,
Yeah.
I just want to ask if you have any choice memories or like first impressions of the four of us that like are maybe embarrassing or, you know, anything like that, that just what were your first impressions of each of us, if you remember? I mean, I know this is 20 years ago and you've had thousands of students, but yeah, just any thoughts of impressions you had of us.
Well, I just know that these two guys, they followed a genius, you know, in Pat Cleary. By the way, I talk to him still. And he was probably the best humorous person I've ever been around. And I cried almost every time tears would come down my face because he was so funny. And we could listen to him over and over and over again, and it didn't matter. He was funny every single time. So, you know, for guys to come in and try to fill those shoes, or you know, that whole group right there to fill the shoes of some of these people in the past was really special. And then you guys all became special. And you know, one of the things about coaching, and I have to, I guess, kind of say it this way, is that all of you guys were growing up. I was staying with the same age group for 35 years, you know, and of course I wasn't growing up at all. So I had to retire to grow up. It really is the truth. And so to listen to you guys, I didn't know how close you guys were. You know, I didn't know you did a lot of things on the outside. I used to, as a younger coach, spend a little bit more of my time socially with them. I would go to maybe a party after a tournament, which was really not a good idea. Would never have been able to pull that off, you know, when you guys were there. So I kind of allowed you guys to, you know, I try to keep a little bit separate, even though it really wasn't separate. So, Amy, I think with you, I think this is true. I think you were the first one that brought the internet or movies on a TV screen to a tournament. Am I wrong?
That was Al Gore.
I mean, it could have been. I would not.
This is what I
if I had something like that.
We didn't, you know, I mean, it used to be for years and years and years that there was nothing to do between rounds. Guys would just sit there and talk and do the same kinds of things, twiddle their thumbs. I don't even know how people got through it. The kids got through a Saturday. You know, at the end of my career, it was very difficult for me to spend my Saturdays. You know, I've been doing it for so long. And at Cherry Creek, we always were the last ones to leave because we were winning everything. So if our team was in debate, that was going into maybe midnight sometimes. And so kids were very, very, very patient about that. Never complained to me. I've had ex-students complain to me now that they're adults going, God, I didn't really like what I was doing. One guy, he won every single event every single round. He never lost. And, you know, I wanted him to go to win. And he's told me recently, he's a professor at Columbia. He says, I didn't really like it. I went, oh, really? You know, but no one ever complained. And
to you,
had a good time. But the thing is, Amy, I remember you having something that was new, you know, to have a TV.
I think it was a mini DVD player.
Yeah.
Little open, because I remember that day.
At a speech meet, and you're laying there with your pillow and maybe a stuffed animal.
That sounds about great.
Amy's here pointing out all the privilege.
Round, you know?
She was like, "Will in my television, please."
And and now these kids have that opportunity to do 1,000 different things, in between rounds, but it was torture. Now, I really can't think of anything. There's really, to tell you the truth, because there's so many so many students that I still hang with and talk to. But I do remember the coaching, and I do remember the classes, and I do remember how much fun we had, like doing what do they call it? Where we have a music, you're pantomiming a music, some music.
Lip syncs.
Lip syncs.
Oh,
Man, that was so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. Hey, being a speech coach is the best teaching gig, because you're letting everybody else perform and do your job. I didn't have to lecture. I didn't have to do any of that. They used to come in to try to evaluate me, and they'd say, well, and they'd see the kids perform, and they'd say, well, what do you do? I said, well, just watch them, and let me do whatever I want to do, and go on.
Well,
we were successful,
I need to describe what lip syncs are, because this is too good to let it go. So assignments in class every year, or I think it was once a year, once a semester. You had to choose a song and do a full-on lip sync. This is way before lip sync battle crap. You would choose a song, you'd have to get in costume, and it was like a competition. And one year, I believe one of the lip syncs was a Spice Girls, with Jeremy as one of the Spice Girls. We did that, and you were definitely wearing my clothing for that. I think yes. The one that I remember that was one of my favorite things was senior year was the year that Alanis Morissette's Thank You came out, and in the music video she's totally naked but has the long brown hair that covers her chest, and so I wore a nude colored bodysuit with a long wig and a little thing over my crotch that said censored, and did a lip sync to Alanis Morissette's Thank You, and that was my lip sync senior year, and I will never in my life forget that. I recycled that costume for my freshman year of college. That was my Halloween costume my freshman year of college as well, but I will never ever forget that. And I think about having been in a high school as a teacher in 2008 to 2013, about if a student had done that, it would have been a scandal that would have sent them to expulsion. This idea of a girl walking around in a nude body stocking as an assignment for class, it just
it was fun. I mean, it was a riot all the time. Class was fun every day. I didn't really like cross-examination debate. Didn't like it at all. Too fast. I might say something about that real quickly, is that I would tell you that hundreds of cross-examination debaters have come back to me and said, the first thing as a law clerk or as an attorney or as a student in law school, everybody kept on saying, slow the fuck down. Really? I mean, slow down. The judges would say that to these guys because it was so fast, you never understood one word they said. So I was not a fan of cross-examination debate. And I would go into a round to judge it, and I'd say, look, I'm at the forefront of slow debate. I am not going to listen to you guys do speed. Okay, bam, didn't matter. Speed, 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 speed. And I just dropped my pencil on the floor and go like this and just and shake my head.
We're all having flashbacks right now because we all know that Gary, when he drops the pencil and goes like this, we know. So on that note, I think we got to keep our episode moving to the last segment of Cold Cuts.
Woo! Gonna get some cold cuts today.
And how Cold Cuts works is that Jeff and I each prepare a Jeff's we're terrified we're gonna get the pencil drop and the arms crossed.
You've already done it.
What's happening? We're like, oh my god. So we've each episode we'll choose an event and we'll do a cold cutting essentially for the event, something we've not rehearsed. We've seen it because we pulled our own pieces this time. Sometimes we may have not seen it, but this time we've seen it. But in honor of having two of the humor champions from the year 2000, 2001 at Cherry Creek High School, as well as the fabulous Gary Addington, coach of humor champions, we've decided to do humor cuttings today. So we each have a for you, and your job is to take some notes for us. You're going to end up deciding who wins, as well as giving us feedback on our fabulous performances.
A pencil or a pen?
So, Jeff, I think you went first last episode, so I can go first today if you'd like.
Would love to. I don't know. Now I'm so intimidated. My heart is racing. I'm like, I feel like a freshman again. And I wish I could just on cross-examination this week.
Yeah. How fast?
Just kind of like black Gary out and just be like, I don't know. You're both annoying.
All right. So here goes nothing. This is going to be a grand old time. Okay. Whew. I cannot believe that Theodore is 8 months old today. Happy birthday, little teddy bear. Today's installment of Why I'm Fat, this pork shake is bigger than my head. My opinion is that more languages you speak, better it is. But when you come to America, you speak English. No matter how fat I get, it's amazing that my grandmother still always tells me I'm too skinny. Eat. You're growing. You need to eat. Cuddling my nephew Luke is the best part of an otherwise incredible day. We all know by now that the garbage that spews from Donald Trump's mouth is idiotic and untruthful. But have you ever listened to the garbage that comes out of the mouths of the rest of the Trumps? I present The Trumps, an imaginary interview with Ivanka, Don Jr., and Melania Trump. The interview is fake, but the words, those are real, or pretty darn close. Welcome to News Tonight. I'm your host, Chris Johnson. This evening, I have some very special guests, 3 members of the First Family. Thank you for joining me, First Lady, Ivanka, Don Jr. I'm hoping to take the viewers behind the curtain, if you will, for a day in the life of the Trumps. To start us off, let's talk about children. You all have children. Perhaps you can share some of your thoughts on raising them. I don't see myself as their mother. I am their friend, and I am here when they need me. Well, that's an interesting philosophy. Perhaps you can elaborate. Just well, my baron, little Donald, he isn't the sweatpants child. He wears suits. I think it's because he looks up to his father. Donald never changed his diapers. That's not a man's work. Okay, that doesn't really answer the question. So let's go to Don Jr. Do you have any thoughts? Oh, I like making babies, especially because of the baby showers. Like at Vanessa's baby shower, last time I was in a room with so many women, there was a disco ball in a main stage, if you know what I mean. Oh, wow. Chris, I think the key to good parenting is finding the right nanny. I mean, I have all of the gorgeous photos that my nanny takes, but someday I'm sure I'll convince myself that I took them. I don't have nanny. I have chef and I have my assistant, and that's it. I do it myself. Wow, let's move on. How about we talk about your relationship with the big man, Donald Sr.? I don't get all the fuss here in New York about gay marriage. If I have to suffer through marriage, why shouldn't they? Well, I am not sure how you got from your father to gay marriage, but if I may, Chris, people criticize him, but I am proud of him for being real. He speaks his mind and he tells the truth. I mean, perception is more important than reality. If someone perceives something to be true, it's more important if it is in fact true. This doesn't mean you should be duplicitous or deceitful, but don't go out of your way to correct a false assumption if it works to your advantage. So yes, my father is real and he speaks the truth, and some people don't like that. My Donald, he is best. He is the best president ever. He supports everyone. He supports women. He encourages them to go to highest level, to achieve the dreams. He employs many women. I love when Donald Trump talks about hair, especially his. I think the greatest lesson I've learned from my father is that success isn't something that happens to you. You happen to it. Yeah, or grab him by the pussy. Well, folks, there you have it. Your First Family. For News Tonight, I'm Chris Johnson. Good night.
I'd be clapping, but I'm writing all kinds of stuff now.
Ooh. Well, we take all of our notes at the end. So, Amy, thank you so much for giving me something to follow here. You son of a...
You're welcome, Jeff. You're welcome.
Okay. So here we go. This is an original piece, and well, I'll explain later. You've been waiting for it, America. You've been waiting for America to get great again. Well, you've been awaiting the day to return when straight men were straight men and everyone else didn't exist. A day when drunk white luminaries and a few of their token ethnic and queer friends gave each other a solid, good-natured ribbing on television. Well, wait no more. We have an old, extra crispy reboot of an old classic, the KFC Dean Martin presidential roast of Donald J. Trump. All the presidents from Good Times through Obama in a saucy joke fest like you've never seen live from MGM Grand Ballroom. Restored to its original luster, complete with the smell of Milton Berle's balls and Dean Martin's vodka piss on the carpet. And because Dino was dead before we even died, here he is, visiting us from his father's shadow. It's your roast master, Fox News anchor, Chris Wallace. Hello, folks. I'm your roast master, Chris Wallace. And yes, I've always been this annoying. Tonight, I have been asked to serve as the master of ceremonies because they wanted someone like President Trump, jarring to both liberals and conservatives alike. If Harry Potter wasn't a wizard or an orphan, he'd be me. Indeed, my father is legendary journalist Mike Wallace of 60 Minutes fame, and I am Chris Wallace, known for spending 60 minutes just trying to ask a single question. But that's not the point, is what most people think my show is called. Now, tonight isn't about me. It's about our great guest of dishonor, the current sitting president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, I moderated a debate between you and then candidate Hillary Clinton. It felt like being the candlestick in between Beauty and the Beast. I was the beauty. What a beauty. Such a beauty. Can you believe it? We actually got Trump to show up for this. In 2003, I graduated from high school, and I was coming off the fresh 5th place finish in humor and state. And that's when I decided I was going to be a comedy star. Spent years in stand-up and pursued one show as a dream, Saturday Night Live. Year after year, I put together tapes and packets of sketches. And this is one of those sketches that didn't get me hired. This is the KFC Dean Martin roasts of President Donald J. Trump by Jeff McKinnon. Can you believe it? And we even got a president to show up to roast the current president. This president needed this event like a hole in the head. Taking shots from the grassy knoll, President John F. Kennedy. Mr. Trump, I had a much better head to be president even after Dallas. Oh, it's like the same joke twice. But what do you expect? Us not to make a bunch of assassination jokes? That's not the only head you got blown, JFK, right? Well, sir, you got busted with your hand in the cookie jar of Stormy Daniels. I got busted for Marilyn Monroe. I'm not saying I'm better than you, but yeah, actually, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm better than you. You think you're so smart, then why haven't we found Stormy Daniels in some bungalow expired on barbiturates? That's how you keep your house clean, friend. And if you want to secure 4 more years, you just let me know. I'm happy to give Teddy a call. It can be quite a stormy ride over the Chappaquiddick. Whoa! You either sink or swim in this room. Speaking of being in hot water, fresh back from wave running while the world burns, President Barack Hussein Obama. You know, I'm the only president on this dais who was asked to show his birth certificate at the door. I still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it. Watch yourself, Barack. Still haven't seen it. Oh, I know. I brought Sasha with me tonight, and she was separated from me at the entrance as being held in a cage in a 90-degree heat. As she should, right, people? We don't know. Could be an anchor baby, never know. Well, this evening you won't soon forget, unless you're President Ronald Reagan. Well, hold on right there. Okay, slow your horses' rides. It's jelly bean time. You ready for this? Ronnie Regs taking the mic. Okay. All right. Okay. Shoot, I forgot what I was doing. What was I doing here? The current president. Can somebody help me spell the name of the current president again? V-L-A-D. No collusion, Ronnie, you know, no collusion. No collusion. I'm an actor, sir. Let me reenact your last meeting with Vladimir Putin. Mr. Trump, take down those pants. You actually promised a border wall. You know how I feel about walls. Mr. Trump, tear down this gate. It's a gate. It's not a wall. It's not a wall. It's barely a wall. Oh, he got him there. And here's a president who never invaded a space he didn't bomb until tonight. President George W. Bush. I mean, I can't believe you actually made America miss me. You're so bad. America thinks old, dry, drunk fraternity president is just an adorable painter. You reverse Hitlered my rep. I mean, mission accomplished. You stole that from me. Mission accomplished without even running a mission. Fake news. That's not the case. We even got his dad, and you thought JFK was dead. We got his dad. Boy, he's barely hanging on. He did die soon after this. It was, 2018. But get ready for that. The downer stylings of Jimmy Carter. Well, the only thing with more uncertainty and unrest than our current populace is Donald Trump's heart. Donald, you eat more KFC Double Downs than every Southern diabetic combined. Double down is also what you call it when two models go down on Donald and then share a hard cry afterward. Here comes a president. I am so tired of this. I'm going to go ahead and... Anybody have requests? I got some Nixon action in here.
Nixon, and then why don't you finish it off?
Boy, you don't want that. All right, here it comes. We've got President Richard Milhous Nixon. Why? I think I fucking lost it. I once said that when the president does it, it is not illegal, especially if she said it when she was 18. Am I right, Mr. President? We didn't even tell Richard Nixon which jokes were written by Jews. Surprise, all of them. You know, these bastards came for me, impeached me, and I said deuces, for doing what? What exactly did I do? And I think I've lost my page. Hold on. So many, oh God, so many pussies back in the day, Mr. Trump, you wouldn't even know where to grab. I mean, boy, if there's any pussy I'd grab in this room right now, it'd be Jimmy Carter. You, sir, have the crisis of confidence. Called him a whiny queer before dinner, and he pissed his trousers. And that was the KFC presidential roast of President Donald J. Trump by somebody else.
So I would just first like to say, one, we did not talk about what pieces we were doing. So the fact that we after the Trumps.
No collusion. There was no collusion
there. No, none at all. I also want to cry foul because that was not a cold cut, Jeff McKinnon. You've rehearsed that and done it before.
I wrote it. I've never performed it. I swear to God, never performed it ever. Wrote it. I do those voices. Of course, I write in those voices.
I'm just giving you crap because I feel inadequate. My impressions were not as well rehearsed as yours.
I do Obama on stage for some dumb reason.
Oh, anyway, our esteemed guests, now it is your turn to give us a little bit of feedback on our pieces and then let us know who you think won. So perhaps, Jeremy, we'll start with you. You can give us some feedback and let us know who the winner was for you, and then we'll go to Sean, and then we'll finish up with Gary.
Amy, what accent was that? Chilean?
Mm-hmm.
It puts me in the mind of complicity, the scent of Ivanka Trump. McKinnon. Good Lord, I miss Obama. Was that Jimmy Carter or Jimmy Stewart? My feedback.
You're funnier than both of them,
And so
Jeremy.
who won, Jeremy? Who's your winner?
You know, I love you two so much, but there was only one of you that had Obama in it. I'll say McKinnon was the winner.
All right, Sean. Feedback and and your ranking for us.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, I liked them both. I do what I used to do when I judge these things. I would just sit there and never write anything down. I just absorb it all. I thought the flows on McKinnon's were a little bit more sharper, but I liked your overall, I guess, transitions. Right? I don't know. I thought they were both good. I honestly I sucked at judging these damn things because I could never, I always felt bad for that one kid that walked out, worked his ass off, and then ended up getting a 4. You know what I mean?
So what Sean's saying is that I won that round. Is what Sean's saying here, and for the sake of the drama, we'll say it's 1-1.
Okay.
And Gary gets to be the final feedback and the tiebreaker.
Okay, so it's the Amy. Chris Johnson, your moderator, is really important in this piece, and he was too fast. You need to pause. The thing is with him, you got such a great face. You need a lot more facial gestures for him, and you have to slow that down. When she says something or something is said to him, he's got to look stupefied, cross-eyed, and pause a lot. There's got to be a lot of pausing in him. You were too fast. And it was too fast for me to be able to get to the next part. So I would, being slower is more important, especially for Melania. And Jeremy, you're right. You were so funny on that. Also, I thought that there was, yours was cold. You could tell that. With practice, it would be different. I always practiced also focus, and all your focusing seemed to be kind of in the same place. So it needed to be over to the right, over to the left, down, up, and it seemed to be about the same. That comes because it was cold, a cold piece, and so I understand that. Jeff, your hand. Oh, also, Amy, the good part that I liked the opening and I liked the introduction. The opening was really good. It made me think about it. Wanted me to hear more, and then you introduced, and then you did your piece, and I thought that was good. Jeff, really good hand gestures. I like the moderator a lot. However, you tried so many impressions, probably too many, but they got to the point where Kennedy sounded like a mob boss rather than Trump sounding like a mob boss.
Is there a big difference?
It's really, the thing is, it's really hard. It's hard to do real people. If you're doing other people, different kinds of people, fine. But you're really trying to do real people, which makes it about 5 times harder. There were times where that I could tell the difference. And there were a few times right at the end where you're starting to go, this has gone on long enough. You start to lose your discipline. And therefore, the characters weren't quite as disciplined as you want them. Actually, I really liked Nixon, at the end there. I thought that was really, really good. It didn't seem impromptu to me just because you knew it so well, because you wrote it. And so there was I think, an unfair advantage for you in a way in this, but I'm going to have to give it to you, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff is the champion. And I think we have come to a place where I think Gary has just really hit on who Jeff and I are, because Jeff lost some steam toward the end there, and Amy goes too fast. So I think that's just a encapsulation.
Is that the story of your life, you guys?
Yes. Well, and I gotta say, it's a real high point of my life to win today. But let's all keep in mind, I'm still not on Saturday Night Live. So really,
I want to say one thing, Jeff.
PhD,
Yeah.
so it's okay.
One of the things I'd say to you, Jeff, is that I'm sorry I missed you. And I can see why Sean and Jeremy were going, yeah, you got to get into this gig because you have lots and lots and lots of talent. I see it. I'd pick you in a minute. You know.
Thank you.
I think you've just made Jeff's life, Gary. I think that.
Hey, I mean, these guys were like, hugely influential in drawing me into any of this. I wouldn't have even done stand-up if it weren't for this guy. And I even like somehow, again,
Pointing at Sean Donahoe right now, just for the folks listening.
Oh yeah, Sean Donahoe.
I was pulling Amy.
Sean. Oh, did I?
I don't even see the tiles, man.
You, me, Mike Kaplan. We were all at the comedy studio in Cambridge together doing stand-up.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I remember that. I do remember that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, since we have come to the end of our time, we're going to go ahead and say thank you to our three fabulous guests, Jeremy and Sean and Gary. This has been such a fun, wonderful CCHS Turn of the Millennium speech reunion. So thank you all for listening today. I'm Dr. Amy Osetinsky.
And I'm not a doctor, Jeff McKinnon. This has been Speech Kids.
Speech Kids.
Speech Kids. Yay.
Speech Kids! 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 Speech Kids!